Okay, yes, we are seeing your screen now.
Awesome. So hello everybody. How are you all doing today? And thank you for joining this session. And I know attendees are there from different parts of the world and with different time zones. And we'll all learn together about how to have fun with shapes in PowerPoint. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to look at what exactly is a shape in PowerPoint. We all know that you could just go to the shape gallery, take a rectangle or take an oval and draw it on PowerPoint, right? And that's a shape. But the shape metaphor actually is so much larger in PowerPoint. So yes, shapes are shapes, but pictures, they're shapes too, because they're rectangles and they have resizing handles. You can rotate them and do so much that you could do with shapes. Tables are shapes too. In fact, they are groups of shapes. And so are video clips. A video clip is basically a rectangle, okay? So it has the same resizing options and rotation options as shapes too. And charts are again groups of shapes. Smart art is again a group of shapes. And even regular text boxes that we use, they are all shapes, okay? So I'm just going to get into editing mode here now. And Kurt, if there's any question if you or Garland can keep a watch for that, feel free to interrupt me and have a look at the question. Okay, so this exactly is a shape. How do you identify that a slide object has got shape characteristics? So we know a shape is a shape. That's something we all understand. But you can see resizing handles in a table here, and we can play with stuff like that. The reason we are going and telling you the similarities between all the different type of slide objects in PowerPoint is we're going to learn so much about shapes today. And I want to make sure that you're all aware that most of the techniques that we learn today will not only work on shapes, but work on tables, pictures, text boxes, charts, video clips, smart art, and any of these objects. So let's go and see what are the techniques with shapes that we're going to learn today. So shapes are building blocks in PowerPoint because they're almost everywhere, as we just saw a while ago. Okay, and we're going to look at 9 techniques that you're going to play with shapes. And we're going to do demos of each of these techniques and go and look at shortcut keys, go and look at tricks and tips that will make it easier for you so that you can do them faster and go and play around with them. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is how to draw or insert shapes. You can either select a shape from the shape gallery and click it on a slide, or you can click it and drag. What's the difference? Let's go and play with it and find out. So on the home tab, you have this thing called a shape gallery. And we probably have a mix of, in the audience of PowerPoint beginners, PowerPoint intermediate users, and PowerPoint advanced users. So for the advanced and intermediate users, you just have to bear a little so that we can go and cover all the basics here. So this is a Shapes gallery. The Shapes gallery is available from the Home tab of the ribbon. It's also available from the Insert tab of the ribbon. So we can just select any shape. Now, in case I choose a rectangle, and if I just go and click it, so what's going to do is it's going to place a rectangle over there. In the same way, I could select a oval and it's going to click it over there and it's going to place a circle over there. So if you go and look at this particular shape that we have inserted on the slide, I click on it, or maybe I double click on that and go to the shape format tab. You can see it's got a height and a width of 1 inch. And similar is the case with the circle here. It's not always true, because if I go and use a triangle here, I may not get just 1 by 1, I get 1 by 1.16. But it is safe to assume that at least one of the attributes, the height or the width, is going to be 1 inch. And definitely it's going to be different for a lot of you who are using centimeters. So it's going to be the equivalent in centimeters. And this is how you're going to do that. But most of us don't go and choose and place shapes by just clicking them over there. What we do is we select a shape and then we drag it how we want it, okay? And then we can make it as long or as tall as we want it, but we don't really know how tall and how long they are because we're just dragging them. It's just by estimate, by guess. Okay, so there are 2 ways to add shapes. First, you can just click them on the slide, and second is you can drag them. And this is a very, very basic stuff, and we're going to build up on that in the rest of the techniques that we are doing in today's webinar. Okay, we're going to look at resizing shapes now. How do you resize them? There are three ways to resize, and we're going to, I can probably go and just take some of the shapes over here, copy them, and paste them in the slide that we have to work on. So when you go and select a slide object like a shape, you're going to see, one sec, you're going to see 8 handles. 1, 2, 3, 4 corner handles, and 1, 2, 3, 4 side handles. Additionally, you're going to see the rotation handle. We'll get to rotation later. But to resize a shape, when you resize it from any of the side handles, you're only resizing one side. Let me undo that. And when you resize from the corner handle, you're resizing 2 sides. Let me get rid of a few shapes here. But what we can actually do is when you resize it this way, you really don't know the proportions that you're resizing. It could be anything. So I'm going to undo now. And now I'm going to press a shift key as I resize. And now what happens, it's going to retain the proportions of whatever we started with. So if we started with a square, it's always going to be a square. And let me just go and make it into a rectangle. And now drag it, it's always going to be a rectangle. It's going to retain the original proportions, the width and the height ratio, and allow us to resize the shape. I'm going to undo it again. And what we notice is when we're resizing now, we are resizing from the side. But a lot of times we want to resize it from the center. Okay, so let me give you an example. I have this shape and I'm going to copy this shape and paste it again. And I have 2 shapes now. And just for the purpose of them looking different, I'm going to recolor one of them. And sort of this is what I have. At this point of time, if I go and resize a shape, I don't want it to be the middle rectangle to not be in the middle over there. I want it always to be in the middle over there. So if I press the control key and also hold the shift key when I'm resizing, what's going to happen is going to resize it from the center, as you see that. So the shift key is maintaining the proportions and the control key is resizing from the center rather than from the side. And we can also press the control and the shift keys both at the same time to get both behavior patterns. The other option that we have learned for resizing is that we can actually go and add an exact value. Now, if you have this particular shape and I go and select the shape format option and I see these height and width values over there, 0.92 inches by 0.92 inches. So I can just go and add the exact values, 1.5 inch over here and 1.5 inches again. And I could do the same with the other one. 3 inches and 3 inches. So this is something you can do when you want exact values, exact proportions, and naturally we can get them all at the center. If you're using PowerPoint 365, the newer versions, you can see when you're moving them around, you get those smart guides over there which actually show you that it's all centered. But we're going to look later into this in this webinar at how you can go and center stuff. Now I need to add a lot of stuff that we cover and depends on the version of PowerPoint you're using. So if you're using PowerPoint 365, which is the latest continuously updated version, that's what I'm using today. You're going to get the features like the smart guides and stuff like that. But if you're using a perpetual version, like 2019, 2016, 2013, or any of them, the most of the techniques that we'll learn today are going to work in them as well. But there may be some issues that may not be, some options that may not be available in those versions. But those are few and far in between. So we looked at 3 ways to resize shapes: resizing by dragging along with the keyboard shortcuts such as Shift and Control, and resizing by typing values. And the next thing that we're going to look at is rotation of shapes. Okay, and there are again different ways that you can do the same thing in PowerPoint. And sometimes you get the similar results, sometimes you get different results depending on what technique you're using over there. And we're going to go and look and do a demo of these options as well. The first thing you can do is you can rotate a object or a shape by dragging the rotation handle that you see when you select a shape. Now, if I go and select this shape, you'll notice the rotation handle on the top. The second thing I can do is I can still use the handle, but press the shift key to get a certain type of behavior that we'll explain. And the other option we can do is we can abandon the handle altogether and use keyboard shortcuts. And the final option we can do is we can go and type in an exact rotation value. And we're going to look at all 4 of these techniques. So I'm just going to select one of these slide objects. Or what we can do is you can actually go and draw another object over here. And you'll notice that the color of this shape is always the same. If I just go and draw any other shape, the color is the same. But you know what I can do? Let me share a small tip with you. I'm going to change the shape fill to this light turquoise shade. And I'm going to delete this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this shape and wait for the options to come. And you'll find one amazing option called set as default shape. And at the moment I select that, after that point in time, any shape I draw is going to have the attributes of what I selected and chose the set as default shape option. Before I changed this default shape, all the shapes were drawing in this color. At this point in time, they're all drawing in a different color. And this is not just true of the fill, it's also true of the attributes or other attributes such as the border color, the effect, or anything else that you have in that, the text color inside the shape. So if you really think that you just go on inserting a lot of shapes and then you have to go and change colors and fill so all of them, it's just easier to right click and say set as default shape. And that's what PowerPoint is going to respect as long as you're working in the same presentation. And this can also be a template specific thing, but that's not something we're looking at in this webinar. So let's go and look at the rotation options. You can just free drag and rotate as we're showing it here. Let me undo it. And at this point of time, what I'm going to do is I am going to still rotate it, but I'm going to hold the shift key when I rotate. And notice what happens that when I rotate it now, it just sort of snaps after a certain amount of rotation. And that rotation value is 15 degrees. So at every 15-degree increment, you will notice that you feel a snap. Can you all see that in the webinar? And it works both ways, clockwise and counterclockwise. But what if I don't want to use the handle at all, okay? So what I could do is I could hold the Alt key and I could use the arrow key. And that's going to do 15 degrees again. So if you are a keyboard person who doesn't want to use a mouse, and you can probably get the same results by just pressing the Alt and the right key and the Alt or the left key. And you do the rotation again. But what if you don't want 15 degrees? What if you want something like 12 degrees or you want something like 112 degrees? So in that case, what you can do is right click and choose the format shape option. That's right here in the right click menu. And over here, you go to this option over here, say size and properties, last option over here. Now again, these values are going to be the same in very different versions of PowerPoint. But the data, you'll either see a task pane or you'll see a dialog box depending on which version of PowerPoint you're using. But it's self-explanatory, it's easy. You just have to go to the size option there and you'll find rotation there. At this point of time, rotation is set to 0, but I could set it to 12. And it gets there. And to know if it can do it in increments of less than 1. So if I go and press 12.5 over there, you'll notice that it gets it back to 12. So rotation values can only be done in full numbers, not in decimal points. So that's how we looked at the 4 ways in which you can do rotation: by dragging along with keyboard shortcuts, by using just keyboard or shortcuts without dragging, and actually going and typing in the actual values there. So do we have any questions that we need to attend to at this point?
I don't have questions at this time.
Very well. Thank you so much. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we already looked at the same techniques can be used for anything. It's not just limited to shapes. So if I just go and to this particular slide, and I have this picture, and I have the same rotation handle, I have the same resize handles, the same techniques that we've learned so far will work for all of them. So if I could just press the Alt key and hit the right arrow or the left arrow, you can see it just rotates it at 15-degree increments, exactly how you would expect it to happen with the shape. And the same is true with the text box and almost anything that you can select in PowerPoint and use the shortcut keys on. So make it a habit of experimenting with stuff like that. Go and play with that stuff and try and, using the same techniques that we're learning for shapes today. Because as far as PowerPoint is concerned, technically everything is that you can select is essentially contained in a shape, okay? A picture is a shape, a chart is a collection of shapes, a text box is a shape, tables are shapes, and shapes, of course, are shapes. So let's move on to our next technique, that is duplicating shapes. So why would you want to duplicate shapes in the first place? You want to duplicate shapes because you've worked a lot on something, you've got the exact color, you've got the exact size and stuff like that, or you want to create a matrix, or you want to create a diagram, or you want to create a target diagram, and for some reason you want same shapes used multiple times put over there, and rather than going and drawing them umpteen times, it'd be so much easier if you could just do it once and then duplicate it and get to work. It makes it for the much faster workflow. So there are three techniques of duplicating shapes. Naturally, you can copy and paste, you can control drag and control shift drag, and you can do the control D shortcut. Let's go and look at each of them individually. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go and place a shape there, okay? So we all know that copy and paste universal keyboard shortcuts are Control C, which I've already done now, and Control V, which I'm going to do now. And it actually goes and puts a exact copy of that, which is over there. So I'm just going to delete this one now because this is just almost everybody uses this technique. So let's go and learn something more advanced. So if you take a Control key and drag it, you can notice that you can, when we're dragging it here, it's actually making a duplicate copy of the object first selected and placing it wherever you leave it. At this point of time, the cursor tells you that it's called the move key. You can see the four-handle cursor there. The moment you press the Control key, it adds a plus sign to that. Do you see the plus sign there? And now when you drag it over there, what's going to happen is wherever you go and place it, it's not going to move the original object again. It's actually going to go and place a copied object over there. It's good if you want something organic and you just want to drag shapes like this, but more often than not, what you really want to do is you want them in a straight line. Maybe you want the next square to be right next to the existing square in a straight line. So you still press the Control key, but you're going to make sure that the Shift key is pressed too. Now with the Control and the Shift keys both pressed, I'm going to move it over here and leave it over there. Now notice, it's only going to allow me to drag it in a straight line, either right or left or top or bottom. That's it. It's only in 90-degree increments that I can drag it. So I'm just going to get this here and make a copy of that. And what if I want a third copy, which is just placed next to it at the same place? What I could do is I can press the F4 shortcut key. Just give me a moment. And I press the F4 key, so it's going to duplicate what I did earlier. And F4, F4. And you can quickly get a line of shapes put up like this. And if you really want to do it, and it's not true of just one shape, it's true of anything you select, because PowerPoint uses the concept of selection and then action. So what I'm going to do now is, let me get this, make it a little smaller, put my cursor outside the slide, almost like a fishing net, drag it over there, so I select all of them. And now what I'm going to do is press Control and Shift and drag it again. And this time I'm going to drag it down. And now I'm going to press F4 again as many times as I want, so that I can go and place more shapes over there. Now to get 4 into 10, 40 shapes placed together, so well next to each other, with the spacing being the same between shapes, it would have taken a long time if I had just drawn multiple shapes and dragged them individually over there. But using the combination of Control Shift dragging and the F4 keyboard shortcut, I could actually go and place them in less than a minute. Just make sure that we are following what we're saying there, let's go and select all of them now and just leave one shape over there. And I'm going to press the delete key. And now I'm going to go and Control Shift and drag here. And now I'm just going to press F4. And now I'm going to do it real fast. And I'm going to select them all again with like a fishing net. And I'm going to press Control Shift and drag it again and get it around however I want. And I'm going to press F4 again as many times as I want. So less than a minute, less than 60 seconds, I have them all put together as wanted. So you can go and play around with these techniques. You don't have to limit yourself to squares, but duplicating shapes can allow you to create something really, really good. For example, now let me just show you what you could do with this. So let's just go on removing stuff here. So I'm sort of created a staircase here, even if I didn't want these other stuff there. So you can actually go and explain a concept of more sort of going sequentially and raising a step at each time and create a diagram like that in PowerPoint so quickly. And as you're aware, you can always select a text, any shape and start typing and the text goes on that. So every possible shape here is something that you can use for typing content over there. So at this point of time, let's go ahead. 1 second.
Geetesh, maybe
Yeah, yes.
sorry to interrupt you. There's a question on the chat from Melody Davis.
Yes.
F4 is there is a specific amount of space between each one, and can you manipulate it?
Well, F4 is actually repetition. Okay, so the same way you have undo for anything you do in PowerPoint or somewhere else, F4 is a shortcut key for redo. Okay, so I'm just going to show it to you again. And if I have this particular shape here, and what F4 is going to do is I'm going to select this shape here, Control Shift and drag it. And now I'm going to leave more shape over here. Okay, and now when I do F4 will remember the space that I kept between the first and the second and retain the same space between the second and the third and the third and fourth. So the space that's going to be used is the same as what I used in the first instance. It's just going to repeat that. Does that answer the question?
I think so. So yes, you can manipulate it because you just said it once and then and she's answering yes, so that's fine.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So it's basically what you do and then you repeat it.
Yes,
That's what
it's very important.
Melody.
It's quick. It's a real time saver when you duplicate shapes like this.
Absolutely. And there's still one duplication trick that I haven't shared yet. So let's go and do that.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to get rid of all this stuff except one. In fact, I'm just going to get rid of this too. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw another shape here. And now what we all looked at copy and paste, okay? But PowerPoint has a secret shortcut key called Control D. That's copy plus paste. So when I say Control D rather than Control C and Control V at this point in time, 1 sec. It creates a copy of that and places on top of that. Now, very important, don't touch your mouse. Just use the keyboard and the arrow keys on your keyboard and move the second shape, which is still selected, to wherever you want. And maybe this is what I'm going to do, okay? And now when I press Control D again, it's going to do something like what F4 did earlier. And it's going to create a pattern between what was selected first and just goes on repeating that. So I'm just going to repeat it again, but this time what I'm going to do is rather than selecting one shape, I'm going to select 2 of them. So I'm just going to take this particular shape and go to the shape format tab. And maybe I'm just going to make the height of 1 inch and I'm going to make a width of 0.5. And now I'm going to take this one and Control Shift drag it, but I'm just not going to make sure there's no space between both of them. So you can actually get it here. And when you're not happy, when you want to make, 1 second. And let's make it a different color. So now we have two shapes here. I'm going to select both of them. Press Control D now again. And now we're not doing it with one shape, but we're doing it two. And when we can do it two, we can actually do it with 20 or 40 or 80 as well. It's up to your imagination how far you want to take it. And now I'm going to get it here. And let's not put it in a straight line. Let's go and make it diagonal, okay? And now when I press Control D, notice what happens. It just maintains a relation between, sorry, I shake my mouse there. So that's how it would work. And you can just go and do it at any number of times you want. So doing stuff like that, now we just got the same staircase idea over here. And rather than doing the whole thing and deleting stuff, you could just put it diagonal rather than vertical or horizontal, and just go on pressing Control D. With the earlier trick of Control Shift dragging, I can't do it diagonal. I can either do it only in 90-degree increments. But here I can go and put it anywhere else I want. So let's try doing it one more time. If any of you think I'm doing it too fast, you want me to go slow, please type it down. Or if there are any other questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box, and we will take care of them as we are doing this webinar. So I have both the shapes selected. What I could do is actually group them as well. The shortcut key for grouping is Control G. So now it's one slide object rather than two slide objects. And now when I press Control D, it's 1 second. It places a duplicate object. Don't use your mouse. Just take your keyboard arrow keys and take it to wherever you want. In fact, you can even overlap them if that's okay. The whole idea is it's just going to duplicate what you do. It's just going to maintain the relation between 1 and 2 and duplicate it as you go along. Control D, Control D. I just click something over there. So
you
just go. Yeah, please tell me your question. Did you say something, Kurt?
No, I was just saying that you did it again with the mouse move.
Yes, the mouse moved over there, and I lost that.
No problem. No problem.
So it's very important that we don't go and touch the mouse at any point in time. No. Just do it with the keyboard. No. Okay. So now we're going to go and look at flipping. Again, flipping is by two ways. You can use a keyboard. You can go and use an actual command in PowerPoint, or just drag it. Okay. So I'm just going to take this one again. Control C. Go and place it here. And this is a good candidate for flipping because it's got two colors. So let me go and make a copy of that, keep it here. And I want to flip this, and let's make one more copy here. So now I want to flip it. What I can do is I can just take it, drag it, and keep on dragging until I'm happy with that, and I can flip it. And this will not get the exact proper thing. Maybe I may have changed the width of the object at this point in time. So it's not really perfect, but it's an option that you can use. And this sort of works well with pictures also, because when you have someone's pictures which has got a face on the other side, and I want to change the face which is left facing to right facing. So as we said, a picture is also a shape. Okay, so you can use this technique there, and you can also use the same technique, which is much more easier to do. Is select this object over here, go to the shape format tab, go and choose rotate, and then go and choose the flip horizontal option. You could also choose the flip vertical, but in this case, yeah, it changes because we have two colors over there. So we choose a flip horizontal, and this gets a much cleaner effect than what we did by manually dragging it. So that was about flip. And now we're going to look at sticky shapes. Now all these techniques that we saw of duplicating, flipping, shift and dragging and stuff like that, they're very good when you want to have everything of the same size. You want 40 rectangles, squares which are the same size. But what if you want to create a night sky full of stars? Okay, you really don't want. You won't get all stars of the same size, all stars standing in a straight line. You need something much more organic there. Okay, so we could just go and select a star option here, and go and draw a star there. And then we'll go and need to draw another star here. And we just keep going, selecting stars and drawing them. Now this is going to get real problematic, because the moment you draw one star, you can't draw another star. You have to go and select it again. So what if there was a technique where you can actually go and keep drawing stars without having to visit the shape gallery every now and then? Well, it turns out there is a way to do that. Just go to any slide shape that you want over here. And I just want this star over there. I'm going to right click and choose the option that says lock drawing mode. What this does is I can just keep on drawing stars, or if I had taken a square or a rectangle, I can just keep on drawing them and as I want. And each of them can be different sizes. You'll notice that all the stars that I'm drawing are the same height and width. That's because I'm holding the shift key when I'm drawing them. If I don't hold the shift key, so I might, have stars that are longer or taller, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to make sure that I hold the shift key when I'm drawing them. And now you can keep drawing as many as you want. The only thing is, how do you stop drawing them? After a certain amount of time, you already have enough stars and you don't want to draw any more. The moment you click somewhere, you have another star. You don't want that to happen. So you just hit the escape key on your keyboard, and then you get rid of drawing and you get back your regular cursor again. So this is called sticky shapes, and it's not limited to just stars. You can take arrows and choose lock drawing mode and keep drawing arrows, but it's up to you what shape you want to work with. So this way you can just go on drawing multiple shapes. But then what happens is, let's say I have all these stars here. I have selected all of them, and I don't want to go and add an outline. But what if I wanted to add a nice shadow to them over there? And maybe I just take this one, and they've got a nice shadow over there because it's a dark color. Sky, you may not be able to see that clearly. But let's imagine that we have all of them drawn. We have 100, 200 of them drawn over there. And maybe you've animated them and done everything with them. And then you're told that we don't need 5-pointed stars, we need 4-pointed stars. So what would you do? Would you delete all of them and keep drawing it all over again? Or would you want to do it something which is faster and saves your time? So we'll go and choose a later option and get it doing faster. So let me just take all these stars, copy them, paste them onto the next slide for change shapes, select them all, go to the shape format tab, and you see this option here that says edit shape. Click on that, change shape, and move on to the stars category and go to the 4-pointed star here and click on that, and immediately all your 5-pointed stars become 4-pointed stars. You could change circles to squares, squares to triangles, triangles to hearts, hearts to stars, whatever you want. You can just select them. The best part is you can even select 3 shapes which are totally different. Like we have the triangle and the rectangle and the oval here. And now I'll go and say edit shape, change shape, and maybe I just want to get a smiley face there. And now we have 3 smiley faces there. But remember, it's going to take the width and the height which was there existing earlier. So at this point in time, this was 1 by 1.6, and these are 1 by 1 and 1 by 1, so these are the same. If I want to change the size of this one too, I'll just go here and type 1, and then I have 3 smiley faces. But when this becomes 1, this becomes smaller too. So there has to be a way where you can size them and make sure that if I put 1 here, I don't want this one to change. How do I do that? So I can just go and click this dialog launcher for the size and position group here. And you see there's an option called lock aspect ratio. I can deselect that. And now when I go and change 1.6 to 1, it will make sure that the other option is also respected. So let's move on to the next technique there. If any of you have any questions, now is a good time to go and type them there. So we're going to look at aligning shapes, distributing and aligning shapes to slides. So let's take a few of our shapes from one of the earlier slides. Go to copy these and take them to this particular slide. So let's start with alignment. So when you have 3, we're going to select 3 of these objects, and you could just go to the shape format option here, and you can get the option to align here. You could also go to the home tab and click the arrange button and get the same align options there. or you could do like what I have done with my quick access toolbar and put all the align options on the quick access toolbar. So I'm just going to right click there and say remove from quick access toolbar. To show you how to get it over there, I'm just going to go to arrange, align, and say add to quick access toolbar. And it adds it back to the quick access toolbar. If you want, I can go and place a quick access toolbar below the ribbon, and now it's here. So now I have these 3 objects selected, and if I click the align button to bring the align gallery, and if I want to do the align top option here, what exactly is going to do, PowerPoint is going to find out which of these 3 objects is the topmost, which in this case happens to be the square. And it's going to use a square as the alignment anchor and then align the other 2 to the top, as you can see now. Okay, let's undo that again. And let's space them a little more apart. I'm going to select all 3 of them again. And this point, we'll find out which is the bottommost object. The bottommost object happens to be the triangle. And when we select that, it's going to use the triangle as the anchor and align all of them. Okay, and let me undo that. And what is the middle object? The middle object is the circle. But if I go and choose the option over here to align middle, it's not going to use the circle as the anchor. What it's going to do is going to find the topmost object and the bottommost object and get the average mean between those 2 objects and use that as a middle anchor. So as you can see, even the circle moved at this point in time. And more or less same ideas work for doing it left, right, and center as well. So let's go here. Select all 3 of them. Leftmost is a triangle, so it aligns to the left. Undo it again quickly so that we can go and try other options. Align right, the square is on the rightmost, so it's going to use that as the anchor. Although the circle is again at the middle, it's not going to use a circle, it's going to use a triangle as the leftmost, it's going to use a square as the rightmost, and take the median from that and make it as the aligned center. After a while, you have all this stuff. You have them all aligned properly, but they're not spaced properly, right? So we're going to select the 3 of them, and now I'm going to choose this option that says distribute horizontally. And now the spacing between these is perfect. And this is something we could have done even here when we place these shapes here. I think we've deleted that now, but when we place them, having there's a matrix, and if it did not work out properly at that time, and then we could have just used the distribute options to get them all right. Same here, and going to use distribute vertically this time rather than the horizontal plane, and that takes care of aligning them that way. And then what would you do if you wanted to have only one object and you wanted that aligned on the center of the slide? It's simple. You just select one object, make sure that the align to slide option is chosen, and that's always chosen by default when PowerPoint sees that you have only one object selected. The moment I select more than one object, you will notice that it chooses align selected objects. But the moment I have only one object selected, it automatically goes to align to slide. So at this point of time, I'll choose align center. It's going to align to the slide, and align middle, align to the slide. So this object is right at the center of the slide. So we looked at how to align shapes on the horizontal plane, on the vertical plane, how to distribute them, and also how to take a shape, any object, and make sure it's bang at the center of your slide. Now this is very helpful if you go and place a video clip on your slide and you want it right at the center of your slide. So you can just select the video clip and select nothing else and go and choose align center and align middle, and you'll have a video clip right at the middle of the slide. And that's true with tables and charts and anything else. So remember that whatever we learned today is not only for shapes, it's for almost anything else that you can select on a slide in PowerPoint. So let's now move on to another technique, which is reshaping. A lot of times you want to draw a certain shape in PowerPoint. A classic example is a semicircle. And if you go to the options here, you don't find an option to do a semicircle anywhere. And you're wondering, why does PowerPoint not have a semicircle? Well, actually it does, but you need to go and choose the option that says partial circle here. And now when I go and drag this, you'll see the handles here. We just call them diamond handles because in the older versions of PowerPoint, they were always diamonds and the name has stuck. But over the versions, PowerPoint has stopped using the words, using diamonds over there, and they are again circle handles. Okay, but for reasons of continuity, we're just going to call them diamond handles for now. And you can just drag this handle over here and get it here and stop it over here where you see you've got a semicircle there. Now the funny and the good part is this same shape, I'm just going to make it smaller and I'm going to place a few variations of the shape here. Let me delete these ones. Take one more here. You see newer versions of PowerPoint, they actually auto-distributed for you when you're dragging them and you can see the spacing is maintained there. So I can just go and drag this handle and I can make a nice cute Pac-Man-like figure from that. I can make a quarter pie there and I can almost make a full circle there. And they're all created from the same shape. And you know, we learned about changing shapes. That works here too. I'm going to drag 4 of them. You all remember the shortcut. I'm pressing Control and Shift as I drag them down. And I'm going to go and say Edit Shape, Change, and change them to the smiling face. Okay, I think this thing works best when you have an outline attribute. So I'm just going to add an outline there and then you can see the lip over there. The funny good part is that the lip is the one with the diamond handle now or the yellow handle. So I can make this one really sad and this one a little less sad and this one sort of straight-faced and this one happy. Okay, so there's so much you can do with almost just go and search for diamond shapes or these handles, resizing handles, shaping handles anywhere in PowerPoint and you'll find tons of them. So I'm just going to duplicate this whole slide. What did I do to duplicate? Let me undo that. I selected the slide in the slides pane and press Control D. Selecting a shape and pressing Control D has got a different result than selecting a slide and doing Control D. When you select the whole slide gets duplicated. So let's just go and change these 4 shapes now. And let's go and change them to maybe the 10-point star. So, and you'll find handles again here. So you can make this one really pointed, like something we'll put on top of a Christmas tree.
Geetesh, we did have a question if you got time for it.
Absolutely.
Melody Davis had said, for this, what if you want something exactly 28% or 54%? I think she was talking when you were doing the shape.
Sure. But she's not asking about diamond handles. She's asking about the shape size, right?
I think so.
Okay. I'll just take care of this one and I'll definitely go and answer her question. Thank you so much, Callan. So, and now we have the 4th, I'll let this one be the way it is. And the 4th one, I'm going to drag it outwards. So it's almost a circle there. So essentially the 4 shapes that you see there are actually sourced from the same shape. And then you just go and drag the handles. You can't steal those diamonds, but you can really put them to good use here. So let's go and just do it one more time. I just want to show you one of these shapes, which doesn't have 1 or 2 or 3. It actually probably has 5 diamonds. So which one is this one? Probably this one. Yes, this has got 5 diamonds. So if you find something which has got more diamonds than that, let me know. But whenever you see a diamond, now you know that you can do something about this. So I'm going to go and drag a few diamonds. It makes it thinner and it takes it to the edge or gets it to be rounded. And this particular one gets it, changes the shape of the arrow over there. This one will take the make the arrow longer or less long, okay? And this one is going to get the arrowhead right at the bottom. So you can see there are 5 diamonds over here. So anytime you draw something in PowerPoint and you draw a shape and you see these diamonds, so that's a great thing. So you can actually go and play with those diamonds and have fun with them. I'm just going to show you one more diamond trick over here. I'm just going to take something which is called a rounded rectangle. and draw this one. And I'm going to take this one and make 3 copies of that, 2 and 3. I can select these 3 and use the trick we learned to distribute them horizontally. And you can see there's a diamond here, a single diamond. So I can take the leftmost and make it into a real square, not the one with rounded. And take the rightmost one and drag it as much as possible. It becomes a circle. So the same shape can become a square, a circle, and a rounded rectangle. And of course, you can change the degree of roundedness that you want here. So that takes care of that. So let me go and look at Melody's question now. And she says for this, what if you want exactly 28% or 58%, 54%? Can you put that number somewhere? I'm assuming what Melody is asking for is the width and the height of the shape, percentage-wise, rather than putting the numbers over there. So I'm just going to select this one, go and choose Format Shape over there, and get to the same size and properties option here. And now, as you can see, there are height and width numbers here, but there's also proportions of as percentages here. So it's 75%. So maybe I just want the height to be 100%, and I don't want to change the width from 75 to something else. So at this point of time, it's 100. But what if I wanted them to be both to be 100% and make them bigger? I could press 100 and get that there too. But what if they are smaller than now? Maybe they're this small and they're only 59%. Or let's go and take the number that Melody type 54. But when I do height as 54, I want the width also to turn to 54. So I'll just go and make sure that the lock aspect ratio option is turned on.
Geetesh, Melody put a clarifying question on that. It was for the pie shape. She was thinking, what if you wanted a pie shape that was 20?
Okay. She wanted at 24% rather than 9. Okay, got you. So
a set percentage, right? She's wondering if there's a way to do that.
Yes. So it's difficult to do that. What you could do is you could use a guide over there. How are we doing on time, Garland?
We've got about 8 minutes left or so.
Okay, so let me just go and play around with, and just we can answer Melody's question. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of these shapes here, keep them here. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to, let's say if she wants it something at a pie shape that represents exactly 24% versus 90 or 180 or 240. So the whole thing, as we all know, a little bit of arithmetic would be 360. And so what I could do is I can just take one of these lines and I'm going to place a line, a straight line here. And since it's a dark color, let me go and choose a lighter color so that it's visible clearly. Is this visible to all of you? Okay, and then now I'm going to Control D to duplicate that line. And I'm going to press a shift. I'm just going to press shift key. I sort of have a straight line. So let me just delete this and draw a line, straight line again. And this time I'm going to hold the shift key and I'm going to draw a straight line. And I'm going to make the lines. So I have these two lines. I'm going to make sure that they're the same height. I should have done that earlier. So this is 3.79 height. So let me just go and make it, say 3, enter. It doesn't matter what height you take as long as you make sure that the height is the same for both of them. And this is 3 too. So we have two lines which are 3 inches each. I'm going to select both of them, go and choose align center and align middle. So now we have a sort of what we actually looking for. And I'm just going to press Control G here so that it's a group, okay? And now I'm going to place it right in the center of the slide. And I'm going to take this pie object and I'm going to make sure that it's on top, sitting on top of the cross that we've created, and say bring to front. And now we're also going to go and say align center and align middle, okay? So now we have it over here, which is actually as 90 degrees because it's 1/4 of 360. So I'm assuming Melody probably wants to start at 0 there. So let's go and it sort of works better if you really go and zoom in here. So you can see we missed out a part there. And this is like 90. But what if she wanted to be changing it to something else? Let's take her value, and rather than 90, she wants it at 24%. So I'm going to select this particular shape that we have on the back, the cross, and I'm going to go over here and change the rotation of that one to 24. So that's 24. So this is how it's going to start at 24. What would be a good idea to do that in that case is, one second. Just bear with me for a moment. What I should have done is duplicated that one rather than using that exact one. So I'm also going to say Control D here. One second. So I have two of them. Make sure I choose align left and align top. So we actually have two of them on top of each other. Take the one that's on the top here and make that into 24 as a rotation value. So now we know where 0 is, we know where 24 is. We're going to take our stuff over there and get it here, and this is full 24. So you just have to use some arithmetic and get that working and doing over there. Did that answer her question? Okay, Melody, if did not answer your question, yes, interesting way to do it. Yes, that's how you'll have to do it. But you know something? An even easier way to do that is actually go and create a pie chart, and you'll have 24% and you'll have 90 and 180 depending on the values you enter in the chart. And then what you can do is copy the chart and then go to another slide and then go and choose paste special and place that chart. It's going to place it as a graphic rather than a chart. You won't be able to add it as a chart values. Then what you will do is press Control Shift G to ungroup it. And then what your PowerPoint may give you a warning and just disregard that. And then press Control Shift G again for the second time to ungroup it again. And then what you'll be left with will be a group, a bunch of shapes which, and you can delete all the extraneous stuff that you have over there. And then you're left with your 24% or 180, 90, the pie shapes that are there. And those are going to be exact. But if you just want something quick, the technique that I showed you now is probably a faster and easier way of doing that. But this may not be exactly 24. It might be 24.2 or 24.1. We don't know that. But if that works for you, then you have two ways to do it, and you choose the way you want to work with.
We're down to the last couple of minutes, Geetesh. So.
Okay, perfect. So we are done with this, Garland, and I'm just going to go and give me 2 minutes. So this is about me. These are my social media stuff. I've been speaking a lot about keyboard shortcuts in this webinar. If you all want more keyboard shortcuts, you can get a copy of my ebook. There's a link over there. You don't have to note down all of them. I have sent a PDF of the entire deck to Garland, and he's going to send it across to all of you all later. And that's about me. I run this website called InDesign.com. You can get there and sign up for my newsletter, and you get a weekly newsletter that gets you more information about PowerPoint. And that's it for now. So thank you, Garland, for hosting this webinar, and I really enjoyed doing this here.
Thank you so much for coming, Geetesh. It's great to have you back for the second year. And thank you for staying up so late. I can see by the time on your computer, it's about 7:30 there. So it's much later for you than it is for some of us. It's early in the day for me. And I had no idea those diamond handles existed. So I definitely learned a lot just listening to you, and I'm sure our participants did as well. And as Geetesh mentioned, he sent me a PDF, which I will make available to all of you. And in addition, we did record this, so if the recording works, hopefully you'll be able to get back to the recording.
Okay.
And lots of people in the chat said, great great presentation, cool tricks, fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. So lots of great feedback from everybody.